You believe focus is a function of willpower. You believe success requires long, grueling 8-hour sessions chained to a desk, pushing through mental exhaustion. You look at the clock at the 2-hour mark, and your mind feels like sludge. You pour another cup of coffee and force yourself to continue, calling this dedication. I am here to tell you that this approach is biologically obsolete. You are not fighting a lack of discipline. You are fighting a fundamental, non-negotiable rhythm dictated by your brain's ancient operating system. When you feel fatigue set in, that is not a moral failing. That is a chemical signal. That signal is called adenosine. Adenosine is the toxic byproduct of high-intensity neural work, acting like a neurochemical brake pad. When your neurons are firing intensely, they consume vast amounts of ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, for fuel. As ATP is metabolized, adenosine builds up in the synaptic cleft, binding to receptors and progressively slowing your cognitive functions. When you try to push past 2 hours, you are trying to drive a high-performance engine while the fuel lines are clogged and the brakes are locked. The high achievers, the MIT students, the Nobel laureates, the top venture capitalists, do not fight this rhythm. They use it. They adhere to the 90-minute rule. This rule is not a productivity hack. It is a biological imperative based on ultradian rhythms. We must look inside the black box mechanism of the human body. Your circadian rhythm governs the 24-hour sleep and wake cycle, but within that, your body operates on smaller, more intense cycles, lasting approximately 90 to 120 minutes. These are the ultradian rhythms, first identified by sleep researcher Nathaniel Kleitman in the 1,950 seconds. During the waking state, these cycles determine peak performance. For 90 minutes, your cognitive capacity, driven by your prefrontal cortex, is at its zenith. This is the focused mode network in action. Glucose consumption is high. Neural pathways are intensely engaged in analytical, goal-directed work. However, once that 90-minute mark is passed, the buildup of adenosine and other metabolic waste forces the system into a necessary slowdown, a state of decreased physiological arousal. If you ignore this slowdown and push onward, your cortisol spikes, your focus degrades, and the quality of your output plummets. You enter a state of stress-induced pseudo-work. The true secret to multiplying your mind power lies not in the 90 minutes of work, but in the 20 minutes of restorative rest that follows. This rest phase is crucial because it activates the default mode network, the system of interconnected brain regions that becomes active when you are not focused on an external task. The DMN is often dismissed as mind-wandering, but it is the true engine of neuroplasticity. During this 20-minute decoupled rest, 2 essential processes occur. First, your brain performs synaptic pruning and consolidation. The neural connections you fired intensely during the FMN session are stabilized, tagged for long-term storage, and integrated into existing knowledge networks. Without this rest, the preceding work is temporary, quickly fading like writing on wet sand. Second, the restorative rest allows specialized glial cells to flush out the accumulated adenosine, effectively resetting the brake and making your receptors sensitive again for the next cycle. By respecting the 90-to-20 ratio, you are not simply taking a break, you are scheduling the biological process required for deep learning and high-intensity energy renewal. You are ensuring that your next 90-minute cycle is not just a continuation of the last, but a new, refreshed cycle operating at 5 times the initial peak performance level. Here is the granular protocol for leveraging ultradian rhythms to systematically multiply your focus power and maximize neuroplasticity. Protocol 1. The 90-minute FMN Lockdown. The first step is maximizing the intensity of the work phase. For the entire 90 minutes, your prefrontal cortex must operate without cognitive switching costs. This means absolute focus. Activate all necessary constraints. Turn off notifications, close unnecessary tabs, and dedicate the entire block to a single, deep work task. Crucially, do not consume any caffeine until the 90-minute mark is complete. Caffeine works by binding to adenosine receptors, temporarily blocking the fatigue signal. If you consume it too early, you block your body's natural warning system, leading to a massive crash once the caffeine wears off and the underlying adenosine spike hits you simultaneously. Protocol 2. The 20-minute DMN Decoupling. This rest phase is mandatory and must be designed to maximize DMN activation. The rules are strict. No high dopamine input. This means no phone, no email, no social media, and no stimulating conversation. High dopamine activities instantly pull your brain back into the FMN, preventing consolidation and adenosine clearing. Mandatory mind wandering. Engage in low stimulus, physical activity. Walk outside, stare out a window, or engage in light stretching. The goal is to allow your mind to drift. This is the DMN performing its background filing system maintenance. Protocol 3. Active neuroplasticity tagging. The 20-minute rest is the consolidation window. You can actively enhance the neuroplastic process before you decouple. Use the first 2 minutes of the break for synaptic tagging via the Feynman Technique. Write down, in your own simplest words, the core concepts you just learned, or the key problem you solved. By retrieving and simplifying the information immediately before the DMN break, you send a powerful signal to the hippocampus to prioritize those specific memories for stabilization. You are essentially telling your brain, this is important, save this. Protocol 4. Adenosine clearing and fuel reset. To prepare for the next 90-minute cycle, you must optimize the adenosine flush and restore metabolic readiness. Hydration. Adenosine is cleared through metabolic waste removal. Immediate rehydration with water is non-negotiable for efficient cellular waste transport. Glucose pulse. Since the PFC consumed vast amounts of glucose, a strategic small pulse of complex carbohydrates, like a small handful of nuts, can restore metabolic function without triggering an insulin crash, optimizing the next FMN session. Protocol 5. Strategic caffeine cycling. Only introduce caffeine or a strong stimulant at the end of the 20-minute rest phase. Timing your caffeine intake to coincide with the start of your second 90-minute cycle ensures that you are riding the natural upward wave of your ultradian rhythm rather than constantly fighting against the inevitable crash. This allows the stimulant to amplify your natural focus peak rather than masking your fatigue. By systematically respecting the body's innate 90-minute cycle, you stop viewing rest as an indulgence and start seeing it as a performance metric. You transition from a state of sustained, low-quality burnout to one of high-intensity, repeatable peak performance. You stop trying to power through fatigue and start scheduling your cognitive peaks. This is the scientific foundation for multiplying your mind power. This is how high achievers work. In the next video, we will tackle the neurological mechanism of social withdrawal in the digital age, ghosting, and the science of the dorsal vagal shutdown. Class dismissed.